through today a process of regulating your nervous system, and we're going to then do work together to actually create a plan of action that settles your brain. So this is a brain-friendly way of setting goals at the beginning of the month. And we're going to keep it nice and narrow and nice and tight so that there's one clear outcome that you're going for, not a million different things, simply one clear outcome that the brain can always reference back to know, okay, that's where we're going. If you're new on this call and we have not yet met, my name is Tania Adams. I am a neuroscience-based executive coach. I've been coaching for 17 years, and I coach people on how to rewire their brains for success in life and business. My coaching's trauma-informed. It's neurodiverse inclusive as well. And my favorite thing to do is to watch people actually tangibly rewire their brains and become a whole entire new person. 6.5 years ago, my husband and I partnered with Nu Skin, which is where we are today. And we were able to build a thriving business through the Nu Skin platform. And we've reached globally. We've spoken all over the world. We've helped people change their lives. And what I love about the Nu Skin platform is that it is a place where people who want to become entrepreneurs can come on board and learn all of the transferable skills to entrepreneurship in a really safe and low threat environment, which doesn't require a whole lot of startup costs. It doesn't require capital investment. And then there's built-in training and development, which is, to me, that's magical. The way that I have grown through the partnership we've had with Nu Skin is, it's just mind-blowing to me. And I'm excited that I have this platform to share with you my other work in the space of mindset, because I honestly believe it's my philosophy is that strategy and skills and knowledge will only take you so far. If what's going on in here is stuck in an unhelpful loop, then no amount of knowledge or skills or courses is going to save you. So that's why I always start with the inside out, and that's what we're going to do today. So in the chat, I would love you to start with, and those of you who follow my work know why this is important. I'd love you to share one win, your biggest win from October. And you might say to me, I didn't have a great month. I didn't achieve my goals, and that's not what I want you to look at. What we're looking for here is how can you talk to your reticular activating system and keep building on training it to look for the wins. Why a win and not what I'm grateful for? A win is anything that is evidence that the new you actually showed up, even if it was once, even if you had a moment in the middle of the month where you reached out to somebody that was really scary for you. That is a win because it's aligned with the new identity of who you want to become. So type that in the chat. What is a win that confirms the new you is starting to come out? Alrighty, so Narelle's got a new LOI in her team. And what I'd love you to think about, and if you can share, what was it maybe that you did or what changed in you that you can see aligned so that that new LOI came through in your team? Kat's team is expanding. Claire's got 2 new LOIs, and Nats did a wellness day. Fantastic. Okay. Ilza created your VIP WhatsApp group, and Theodore had the highest GSV since the new SPP. So again, all of those are fantastic milestones, and I love that because they link back to who is the person we're becoming. And Theodore has shared her vision for herself in the business already in our retreat that we did at the beginning of the year. And so that's totally aligned with who Theodore said she would be within the next 12 months. Now, what I would love you to, the reason I've asked you to just look at one is because the brain loves a single point of focus. And that's what we're going to do today. But we're going to start first with regulating our nervous system. So I'd love you to sit up straight, sit comfortably in your body, imagine your spine really expanding, open up the gaps in between your vertebrae, allow your diaphragm to be open and able to work, and take a big deep breath in. Fill up your stomach, a stomach breath, not a chest breath. Hold it at the bottom, and then I want you to notice what's happening in your body as you hold your breath. Notice your heart rate change. Notice the tension shifting in your body. Notice the impulse to want to breathe again. And then slowly exhale. Count to 6 while you're exhaling and really empty your lungs. And as you're exhaling, notice your body soften. Notice your shoulders drop a little bit. Notice what's happening in your heart rate and in your lungs. And then take your ring fingers and your thumb and press them together and take another big deep breath and really open up that diaphragm. Feel your stomach expand and just be gentle inside yourself and notice, just do a little body scan and see where is there tension. Are your shoulders tight? There may be tension in your legs. What's happening in your neck while you're holding your breath, and then gently exhale and notice how that tension starts to move and melt away. And then we're going to do it one more time. A really big deep breath in all the way to the bottom. I want you to open up that diaphragm and breathe in the biggest breath you have yet. And when you think you've got too much air in your lungs already, take another big sip of air. Hold it there. And then I want you to exhale with force. Push all of the air out and really let go of everything that you brought into this call that doesn't need to be here today. Then shake out your arms and your shoulders and roll your neck and shake it out. Shake, 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 shake. Okay, so how are you feeling now? Now, this is a less than a 1 minute regulation for your nervous system, and I would recommend you do this every time you're facing something that's a little bit scary. So let's have a look at, yay, you're feeling relaxed. Good. Okay, so the formula that I teach when we get a little bit anxious and a little bit noisy is the STOP formula. And STOP stands for spot the story. Spot the story I'm telling myself. Then actually tell the truth. What is actually the truth here? What is this the absolute truth? What is more true? And then to choose an overriding thought that aligns with the new identity, and then we're going to act in accordance with the new identity. So take a moment and notice in yourself what story you are telling yourself about this month, or about achieving goals, or about yourself that's not helpful. So if you've got good stories, that's great. We're looking for the one that might be a blocker. And if you've got lots of good stories, then take a little bit longer to look beneath that and go, because if there is this noise and anxiety, there is a story that's running. So just have a look and spot the story that's running. It's a story about I'm scared that I won't hit my goals, or I need money for the end of the year and I don't know where it's going to come from. My team isn't big enough. Nobody wants to stay in my team. Nobody wants to join my team. So look to see what is the spot the story. I don't have enough customers. My people are ghosting me. My contact list has dried up. I don't know who to speak to. And if you've spotted your story, then just give me a thumbs up so that you've spotted your story, and write it down. The brain, when the brain hasn't got a handle on naming what's going on, it kind of gets a bit vague. So write it down and notice in your brain and your body, the minute that you say, oh, I know what story's running, how the brain just goes, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, Ilse's found hers. And then give me a heart if you notice that naming it just dropped your anxiety a little bit. And then, okay, good. So naming things is super powerful. Now, the question you're going to ask yourself for T is that the absolute truth? Is it absolutely true that you don't know who to speak to? Is it absolutely true that nobody is looking for what we have? Is it absolutely true that our products are too expensive? Is it absolutely true that nobody has money? Is that the absolute truth? So whatever your story is, ask the story, is that absolutely true? Now, in a quantum universe, we all know that it cannot possibly be true. Absolutely true. There may be some people who don't want what we have. Some people might not be able to afford it. Some people might not want to be in sales or in network marketing. Some people might not have an interest in skincare. It's not the absolute truth. Okay, so the next question for T is, what is more true? What is more true than the story I was running? So it's more true that there are people who are worried about aging. And lots of people. How do I know this? Because if I look at market data, anti-aging and longevity is the fastest growing trend in the world. So it's more true to say that lots of people want what we have. Also, the trend is that people will spend money they don't have that is allocated to something else in a budget on products like ours. That is more true. How do I know this to be true? There is hard data for this if you look at market analytics. So, what is more true than the story that you've been telling yourself? If it's something about you, I don't know how to do this business, I don't know how to get people started, I don't know who to talk to, what is more true? It's more true that you know at least 2,000 people by name. How do I know that that's more true? Because there's hard data that says that the average person leaving school knows at least 2,000 people by first name. So look for the story, not that's absolutely true. Absolutely truths do not exist in a quantum universe. What we're looking for is a ladder that takes you to the next more true statement that's moving you forward into the identity that you want. So when you've got your more true statement, either share it in the chat. I'd love to hear what's more true than the story you were running. And then we're going to move to the O, which is an override statement. It's a different story that you're going to choose to believe out of choice. Now, the brain doesn't really have an opinion about fact and fiction. It doesn't, the brain is an interpretive prediction machine. So it gets data in the form of light and sound and all the rest of it, and then it makes up a story about what that is. It works the same way that AI does. It kind of is always running on best guess. So the more you can prompt your own brain, the better the result. So how many of you use ChatGPT? Just give me a, yeah, so some of you nod, right? How many of you have put in a prompt and gone, what? Like, how did we miss each other? This is, like, how did you come up with that? Yes, because the AI is just doing a best guess with what you gave it. You are actually the problem, not AI, right? Your prompt is the issue. Now, your brain is precisely the same. And there's a chapter in my book, which I'm super excited about, that talks about this exact phenomenon. So when you give your brain a better prompt, it will give you a better outcome. So what is the prompt, the override prompt? Ilse, my new business partners are already looking for an opportunity. I need to reach out. Great. Okay, so that's going to get written in the journal. The minute that the anxiety runs, what is the process? We do the regulate through the breathing, then we spot our story, we tell a more true truth, and then we use our override statement. Now, the next thing is P, which is proceed. Proceed with one micro action, only one, and it must be tiny. So I'm going to use Ilse as an example here. My business partners are already looking for my opportunity. I just need to reach out to them. So Ilse, one reach out that is going to take you 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes. Now, this is important from a neuroscience perspective and from a neuroplasticity perspective because why? Because the brain's neuroplasticity is going to grow with dopamine. And dopamine gets released in two stages. One, when we are anticipating doing something that's going to provide a reward. So in your override statement, you've scripted it perfectly. The reward is that if I reach out to them, there's somebody looking for it. So already your brain will give you a little bit of dopamine to help you make the phone call. And that's the job of that dopamine. When you make the phone call, irrespective of the outcome, so even if the person is not open, your brain is not tracking yeses and nos. It's tracking, did you do what you said you would do? And when you did what you said you would do, you'll get dopamine. Now, this is important for neuroplasticity because what then happens is my new identity gets hardwired in my brain as being somebody who does what they say they would do, irrespective of the immediate outcome, irrespective of what I feel like doing. And it's dopamine that provides that ability. So the quicker you can do an action and give yourself dopamine, the quicker the cycle starts. If you don't act immediately in the middle of the stop process, if you say to yourself, oh, I just need to phone people, and then you wait 3 days, your brain has lost the ability to utilize that statement and give you dopamine. It must be immediate. The quicker the win, the quicker the dopamine, the quicker the neuroplasticity happens. So Justine says she needs to break her day up into 8, 8, 8, and then further break it down into 30-minute increments to do the work. Okay, great. Now, Justine, I'm going to say to you, what is the one micro action you can do right now that is going to give you dopamine? Because this is a big project, right? Now, your brain's going, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. I've got to go get the diary out. I've got to get the calendar out. And then I've got to do 8, 8, 8. Then I've got to do 30 minutes. So what is one thing that you could do right now in the next minute that tells your brain that the next thing to do is to get my Google Diary out? Can you see how small the increments are that the brain needs to just know step, step, step? Otherwise, it just goes, oh, that feels like a lot of energy. And as you all know, because I talk about this a lot, the brain's job is to save energy because it's the foreman for the energy for the whole body. And if you're going to ask it to imagine something that feels like a lot, then it's just going to shelve it and go, no, no, we need digestive energy. We don't need that. That seems like too much. So set the big project, and then your next step is to go, well, what is one micro action that I can do that tells my brain we're on the way to that big thing? Okay, so grab your sheet now, and you've got your sheet in front of you. I'm going to call up my little sheet here so that I can talk you through it. Okay, so in the same spirit here that we've done your little tasks, what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you to choose a single outcome for the month. Now, I know that in the past we have trained, that's sad. I don't have permission to go live. So this one's not going to go live. This is very sad. Anyway, nonetheless, good up to you, a big up to you who did show up, because for some reason my live's not working. In the past, we've trained goals that you would break it down to what is your GSV goal or your sales target goal, how many customers are you going to have, how many, and whilst that is effective as the second stage, it's not effective as the first stage. The first stage has got to be, oh, is it live? Oh, thanks, Claire. The first stage is that it's got to be one thing. Now, this one thing, how you choose it is what is the one thing that if I achieve it this month, and you can write this with me, what is the one thing that if I achieved only that this month, it would take me closer to my goal for the year or my goal for December? What is the one thing? Now, that might be that you need to maintain your pin title. It might be I need to secure 10 new ADRs so that I've got consistent volume for December, and then I need to repeat that. What is the one lever? We're looking for a lever that does the most amount of work. Now, in physics, a lever is a small movement that creates a big outcome, right? So we use a forklifty thing and the whole lot of weight shifts on that side, but we've just used our arm, right? Door handle's a good example. So write it down. What is the one thing that if you achieved it this month, it would set you up for December and for the rest of the year's goals? So, Theodore, I know what your big goal is. What is the one thing that you would need to achieve this month that's going to take you closer to that goal you set in our retreat in February? One thing. It might be I need to break a new brand rep. I need to build depth in my leg, in one of the legs. I need to create a leadership leg. So one thing only. When you've got your one thing, type a 1 in the chats. Okay, you've all got your one thing. All right, now we're going to choose 3 things that drive that, because those are just going to be, the brain's not going to do much more with, if you've got 10 things to measure. It's not, the brain doesn't like that. So what are the 3 metrics that are going to drive that thing? So let's take the example of I need to break a brand rep this month. So what are the 3 things that if you did only that, if that was the only thing you did on repeat this month, you would have the biggest likelihood of creating that brand rep? For example, doing 10 reach outs a day. So recruitment reach outs is one activity that will absolutely drive your likelihood of breaking a brand rep. In fact, it's probably, if you only did that one thing, it would be the one thing that would take you closer to breaking a brand rep. After that, what is the next best thing that you can do to make sure that you break another brand rep? Maybe it is your social media consistency, because you're not only phoning people. I would recommend that you phone people and you post on social media and you do demos. So if you are selling, like we do skincare products, it's the same process as if you are selling, I don't know if you like, so my husband sells solar. So he literally does this process day in, day out at his own job. And he doesn't have to know a whole lot of detail about how the batteries work at all. All he has to do is get on the phone and phone people and say, hey, do you have any projects in our field? Can I come and see you? That's it. That's what he does day in, day out, day in, day out. Then he goes and he talks about why their solution works and he asks them if they'd like to get started. And then he just has this follow-up process. So maybe your third lever is a consistent follow-up process. It might be recruitment, um, demos, and follow-ups. Like that to me would be a solid base of that's the only three things I do every day. I touch those every day. So write that on your sheet, whatever you decide based on your one outcome. Those are the three things I'm going to track. Now, these are metrics to track. In other words, you're going to track how many reach outs did I do, how many follow-ups did I do, and how many demos did I do. That's it. So they're numbers. And then we're breaking it down to 2 daily actions that you will commit to every single day that are going to drive those metrics, right? So what's going to drive presentations? The number of presentations I did is how many people I phoned. That's a metric because we know that if you do 3 presentations to a person, one of those people will join your business. So I'm tracking how many presentations I do in a month. In order to get those presentations, I need to phone 10 people a day. So that's your daily activity. And literally, you're only doing 10 to 15 minutes of it. Because why? Because we don't want to overwhelm our brains. You can do more than one 10-minute stint, though do 10 minutes, stop. And those of you who've worked with me for a long time since we had the success journals, you will know that I broke that success journal down into 15-minute increments. And then on your sheet, you'll see that there's another framework, which is not my framework. It's called WHOOP. And WHOOP is about getting to your why. So what is the thing you want? What is the outcome? Why do you want it? And then we plan for obstacles. And I'm going to wrap up now because we did start late. So thank you for your patience. Obstacles are what are the things that will get in my way? And if you name them, then you are more likely to spot them coming and not get derailed. So what's likely to get in my way? School concerts, just feeling naffy, holiday fever. I get a lot of holiday fever. I get a lot of weekend fever. It's like that's my blind spot. If everyone else is on holiday, I'm like, well, me too. So what am I going to do to counteract that? So for example, what I do is when I know that holiday season is coming, I pre-prepare a lot of stuff so that I can have the holiday Last night I sat and worked out how many YouTube videos do I have to pre-record before the end of November so that I can have holiday in December. So I'll have all of my, because I know that I get holiday fever. And it just like, that's just how it is. And then my husband has a normal regular job, so he's on leave and we're traveling to the Eastern Cape. There's no way I'm going to want to work. So know that and then prepare for it. If I notice that I'm distracted because I'm scared, I will do whatever. So you put in a contingency plan. If I notice that this derailment is about to hit me, I have a contingency plan. And then on the sheet, you'll see there's a reflection piece. So utilize that every week, go back. And the reason this is important is that a month is a very long time in the brain. I've spoken about this before. The brain doesn't really understand time in the way that we think about time. The brain doesn't have that. So a month of not revisiting and refining this, the brain's off on its own movie and it's forgotten all the stuff and it's just gone back to its default energy saving patterns because that's what the job of the brain is. So use this every week, sit on a Sunday night and reflect on what you did in the week. And it's not about shame. And I want to be very clear about this before we end now. That tracking sheet, and you can share this with your mentor, whoever you're working with, or your coaches or whatever at the end of every week. It's not about shame. It's about self-awareness and how to refine. The numbers they're just numbers. That they don't mean anything about you unless you give them meaning. All that they mean is you either did or didn't do the stuff, or it worked or it didn't work. So now what? What do we do with that? That's what those numbers mean. So I'm going to encourage you to take the shame away because a brain in shame will never learn. And that's our week 1. I'm excited for week 2 because we're going to build on week 2 next week. So if you are not already on the mailing list, pop me a message, a direct DM, and there's an email that goes out with the worksheet for every Thursday, so that you've got them. If you're not on the mailing list, send me a DM and I will send you the link to get on the mailing list so that you don't miss the templates. And if you did miss the templates, I will put the worksheet in the comments of the YouTube again, and I will send it out on our WhatsApp group as well. Much love, guys. Have a happy week. See you next week.